Hello, boys and girls. Okay, we're going to continue reading our story, The Ant and the Grasshopper, today, okay? But before we read it, I want to tell you what we're going to learn today. Okay? Our first objective is students will be able to know what an event is, okay? So if you don't know what an event is, we're going to learn. And then you will be able to identify an important event, okay? And then, in the end, you're going to be able to identify the sequence of events in a story. Okay, so let's start with reading our story today, okay? Okay, The Ant and the Grasshopper. One warm summer day, a grasshopper was hopping through a field, singing and making music with his fiddle. Remember his fiddle down here? He was singing and making music with his fiddle. An ant passed by and gathering food for the cold winter days. Do you see the little ant down here with the olive? So he was passing by, gathering food for the cold winter days because that's what animals do. So usually in the winter or in the summer, they'll collect food for the winter because in the winter they don't go out. It's too cold to go get food. So they do it in the summer and they put it away and they save it. And then in the winter, they go, they just stay in their house and they have all the food that they need. Okay? The grasshopper teased the ant, saying, "Why must you work so hard and never have any fun? How can you think of winter? It is so far away." The hard-working ant continued without answering the grasshopper. So she just continued doing her own work. Winter arrived and covered the ground with a white blanket of snow. So remember, it was summer, and of course, fall happened, and then winter, right? So it was winter now, and it covered the floor with a blanket of snow. Now, it doesn't mean that it was an actual blanket. It just means, remember in the picture that you saw, in the presentation that you saw before, it looks like a blanket because it's over like this and it's white, right? Food became scarce. There was a shortage of food throughout the land because in the winter, food doesn't really grow, right? So there was no food anymore because it's winter. Food became scarce throughout the land. Soon the grasshopper was starving because what did the grasshopper do? He didn't collect any food, remember? He was playing. So food became scarce. Soon the grasshopper was starving. Desperately, he begged the ant to share some food. So he went to the ant and asked them if he could have some food. What do you think the ant is going to say? Because do you think he's going to give him some? I don't know. The ant could only give the grasshopper a few crumbs. That means just a little bit of his food. So he remained hungry all winter. Why do you think he could only give him a little bit of the food? It might have been because he would have been, if he shared his food with the grasshopper, then the ant wouldn't have any more food, right? He only collected food for himself. Okay, so the grasshopper remained hungry all winter. It was then that the grasshopper understood, this is our moral of the story, right? It is best to prepare for the days of necessity. So the lesson that the author was trying to teach us was that the grasshopper, instead of playing in the summer, he should have been collecting food like the ant, right? Okay, boys and girls. So remember I told you that we were going to learn what an event is, right? It's an event. It says event right here. So an event is something that happens, okay, either in your life or in a story. So something that happens in your life is you go to bed, that's an event. Or I went to bed, that's something that happened, it's an event. I went to the store, or I played with my cousins today. Those are all events that might happen throughout the day. at your house, right? There's also events that happen in a story. Like the grasshopper was collecting food, or I mean the ant, right, was collecting food, or the grasshopper was playing his fiddle. That's an event, something that happened. Okay, so now, so we know what an event is. Now, what is an important event? Okay, we're going to be able to identify. So, identify means that to know what an important event is. So, in real life, like an important event is something that affects your life. Well, in a story too. In your life and in the story, an important event is something that happens and it affects the your life or the story. Okay. So something that an important event that might happen in your life might be that you move to a different house. That's gonna affect your life, right? Because it's you might change schools or you might stay in the same school but you have a different room now or you have a different everything, right? That affects your life. Now, in a story, there's also important events that affect the story. So you're going to identify today after this, there's gonna be a little quiz. You have three options of what do you think is an important event. So think about something that when you read the answers, think back in the story and say, was that something that was important that affected the story? Okay. So choose an answer. What do you think in the story was an important event?